Hi, this is David Parrish with World Missions and Evangelism, and I'm so glad that you're watching our video blog for this week. For the last several weeks, we've been talking about Instar, the Spanish word that means to urge or be urgent, and it has become a theme and a strategy statement for World Missions and Evangelism because we don't believe there's anything more urgent than obeying Jesus and making disciples of all nations. And it's also become a strategy statement because we've been able to see that every letter can stand for a part of the World Missions and Evangelism strategy. The I stands for intercession and identification. We want to generate among God's people great intercession for the lost and for unreached peoples and for specific areas of outreach. And in coordination with that, we want to identify what are the places of need. N stands for networking because we're not here to reinvent the wheel. Because when we do see the areas that God is opening doors, God is directing us toward in new areas or regions of Latin America, first thing we want to do, or not just Latin America but around the world, but specifically of Latin America, we want to find partners to work with because there's already churches and leaders and missions agencies and missionaries that are doing great works, and so we want to network and we want to be a help to them. That leads to S, which stands for serving, and serving, that means serving the needs of the people that we want to disciple and serving the needs and the ministries and the outreaches of our partners that we're networking with, and we're doing that. In other videos I've talked about all those things. And then T stands for training. And the T means that when we have relationships with people and they also are, through our interactions, beginning to see that we are propagating intentionally a method of outreach to train people who train people who train people, disciple-making movements and church planting movements. And then that opens the door for us to provide training for those people. And that's what I talked about last week. Now today we've come to the letter A, which stands for assisting. Assisting. The next phase in our strategy is we want to assist those who we've trained. Somebody might say, well, what's the difference between the S and the A? What's the difference between the serving and the assisting? The difference is that there's a T that comes in the middle. The difference is we're serving as many as God gives us the ability to do, missionaries and God's people and needs as we can. But once we've trained people in church planting movement, the A means we're specifically assisting them to use those principles and techniques and things that we've taught them and to actually practically put those into practice. In other words, we want to remain as mentors and assistants to and facilitators of those who are going to take this vision and run with it. I think of one of our greatest partners over the last 6 years since we started the particular project in Latin America. We started just in Honduras. Today, 7 nations are being impacted. Honduras and Nicaragua and El Salvador, Guatemala, Mexico, Costa Rica, and Colombia and South America, all impacted by what has started in Honduras. But we were just in Honduras, and in those early days, we really started the project in 2008. But it was in 2009 that in one of our training sessions, our team encountered a man that we call Beto. And Beto was a leader, he was a church leader, but what he didn't have was a methodology of church multiplication. He didn't know, he had maybe heard about church planting movements, didn't understand what the principles were. And he was an eager student. And he was trained in November 2009. By the way, that was a period of time where the country of Honduras was going through a crisis. The government had been overthrown. There were curfews. They were at the point of near civil war. It was a very, very difficult time. And in our project, it was a very, very difficult time because there was places that groups disappeared, villages disappeared, type of thing. You know, it was a time where we thought it was a time of setback. But right in the middle of that, our team connected with Beto. And he was there was about 20 people or so at a small training that we were doing, and he was just one of them. But he was sitting on the edge of his seat, and he was taking notes on everything that was being taught. And we didn't know what is he going to do with it, but he had been trained And the next thing we begin to hear results. He took what we gave him, and then we back in those days we didn't even have mega voices, but we were just using little cassettes, old-fashioned cassette recorders and they were old-fashioned even then. We were using those so they could hear audio Bible studies and so forth, and can use those. And so Beto went and he started a group of 8 people. He went back to his place of ministry, and he found 8 people. And he started a Discovery Bible study with these 8 people. And they were Christians. But through a Discovery Bible study format, he taught them what we had taught him. And before long, 70 Discovery Bible studies had begun. And out of those 70 Discovery Bible studies, 61 churches were planted. 61 churches. And we begin to get reports that with him, great things. Well, it's exploded since then. And he is one of our number 1 leaders and partners in Honduras. So what have we done? How has WME responded in these years since then? Once he began to take the training and to implement it and began to see results, we came back and we said, can we train your whole team? We have trained you, but can we help train your whole team? And when we trained his whole team, they had started the process and they had gotten a goodly way down and they were seeing some success, but they had kind of plateaued. They had kind of hit in, and there was maybe some of the principles that they didn't fully grasp yet. And so we went and we did another training just for his group. And the result was it began to explode. And then he said, hey, I've got a group of people in El Salvador. So we went to El Salvador and we trained people that were connected with him. And then what happens is he began to hold training sessions on his own, and he has his own Bible Institute, and we began to partner with him there, and they were trying to get in some remote areas and couldn't get transportation to these areas, and so we came alongside and we helped provide transportation for him to go into some of the most remote, dangerous areas of Honduras. And so we helped him with trainings that he did. He became one of our trainers. When we go down and do trainings, he comes over and he's one of our trainers. In other words, what did we do? We assisted him, we partnered him, the relationship deepened, and it became an ongoing, long-term mentoring partnership. And we wanted him to know and let him know, Beto, this is not just a one-time thing, but we're here. We're here to stick with you for life. God has knit us together, and we're here to now assist you. You tell us what you need. What other training? What other resources? What other literature? Mega voices, Bible studies, training materials. How can we help you do what you're already doing? We've trained you. We've given you a tool at the beginning. You're using that tool. How can we come in and provide other tools for you? That is assistance. And that is an exciting phase, because as we've entered into that phase with so many of our partners in Honduras, but especially with Beto, and we hope many others that are going to be like him. And we've got many partners, many people that we've trained. As we can enter into that kind of ongoing long-term relationship, that's where it's exciting, because then we begin to see the reports of church planting, disciple-making movements. And we begin to get reports like we have gotten January through March this year, the first 3 months of this year, 2014, 811 people baptized. That's an average of 9 people a day being water baptized in this movement. And then in April, on Easter Sunday alone, 60, all at one place. There may have been others, but in one event, 63 people baptized. And by the way, that was through the ministry of Beto. And so what I'm telling you is, that's what assistance is all about. We intercede and identify. We network and we become partners with. We serve the needs, whatever the needs are, as much as God gives us ability to do. And then we train. We say, how can we train you? We want to make you more effective. And those that really are not just hearing it, but they say, yes, we're going to utilize this training. Then we come in and we assist and we say, how can we through ongoing mentoring and resources, help you to apply this in a great way. And then that brings us to the R, which is reporting. And I'll talk about that next week. But reporting is when we get the joy of hearing those kinds of results. And we get the joy of hearing what God is doing. And that's the reporting function of our strategy. We'll talk about that next week. Thanks so much for your prayers and support. God bless you and have a great day.